Hey, Stacey David here with Tales of a Gearhead podcast. This podcast is about all things automotive from any time, any place, and beyond. All right, let's get to it. So the shop, Strange Motion, is still open.
Yep.
Say somebody wants you to build a car. How do they get in touch with you?
Just message me on Instagram, Facebook, or my website.
So how long of a waiting list is there?
Currently, right now, probably 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Kind of got hooked up with a couple private collectors. One guy's got 3 cars in there. Not allowed to post them on social media or nothing until we figure out where they're going. Sometimes they don't go anywhere. They just go back into a collection. I build some stuff for myself. I did a Chevelle for me and my dad.
That was a nice car.
Nights and weekends, and it's still just hitting the magazines now. And it'll be for sale here probably in the spring.
You're going to put it on one of the auction deals or what?
No, we won't do an auction. We don't have to sell it, but we would sell it, maybe do something else. But then he realizes I still need my roof on my shop, and he wants a new hay barn.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say a Harley. No. He's going back into the Harley days.
He's graduated to a trike Harley. He never said he'd do that. So
a trike? Yeah, really?
He's 75. He's had 2 open heart surgeries.
Oh, I know you're dogging him about the trike.
Those guys are sissies that ride trikes. Now he's like, dude, it's like riding my recliner down the road.
Okay, I'm going to ask you the question that I asked the other guys. And now this is for Tim Strange. Mm-hmm. Give me the 5 top ingredients that you think a hot rod. Now, I'm not talking a street rod. I'm not talking a muscle car. I'm talking a hot rod. When you think hot rod, what does that car or truck need to have? First of all, is there a specific body style? Is there a specific year era?
To be a hot rod.
To be a hot rod. When people look at it and go, oh my gosh, that's a hot rod.
4 of us in here, and everybody might say a hot rod's different because some people like blonde, some people like brunette.
Because I got Steve Mank one thing, I've got Troy Ladd saying something else. I want Tim Strange. What does Tim Strange say?
Number 1 stance for a hot rod.
How does that stance have to look? Is it raked? Is it slammed?
A little bit of a rake. Don't sit flat. That's Pro Tour stuff. Yeah. And I hate putting labels on stuff because to me, everything modified is a hot rod to the general public.
No, I'm with you on that. This is a difficult question, especially to a custom builder.
So for a hot rod, it's stance, wheels, and tire fit. You got to have some sidewalls, a little bit bigger sidewall in the back than in the front. Yep. We got a Pro Tour car in the shop right now. It sits flat. The wheels are the same diameter front, rear. It is a hot rod because it's a late 50s car with a 409 in it. It's more Pro Tour than it is hot rod.
So you got some of the ingredients, but not all of the hot rod ingredients. Okay. So stance is one. What's another? How about motor?
Motor, like from a distance, like is that car going to want me to suck it in to walk that at a show? Some cars you just walk around, some cars like, oh my God, I got to see this. And then I like colors. I mean, I don't mind black vehicles, but
yeah, I'm a color guy too.
I like colors and stuff. When it's running, the sound, it's got to sound okay to be a hot rod.
And what is that sound to you? A big throaty rumble? So the big cam, does it have to have blower whine and all that stuff?
No, but it sure helps. Those are bonus points. Yeah. Like the Chevelle we built, it's a carbureted big block. And we took that thing to SEMA a couple years ago, and I was like, nobody's even going to like this thing. It's not fuel injection. It's not everybody says LS swapped the world, and they're looking at it. It's like, are those adapters for the big block valve covers? No, it's really a big block with a carburetor on it. And I realize people still like hot rods and big and little tires. And
it's like the 3-deuce setup over there. People digging that.
Yeah. Now it was weird. Okay, we're old now, right? We're old. I remember when there was no LS motors.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just small blocks and big block. And then everybody started LS, and it was like, oh my God, you go to a cruise, the car's got an LS swap in it. Oh, wow. Now it's like, hey, that thing's got a big block in it. And you go to look at or a Hemi, or something like that.
A real Hemi.
Yeah, street rod with a Hemi in it. But okay, so those are my 3, I guess.
Okay, 3. Now, how about body? This is a really hard one to pin down because some people, like Troy Ladd is like 30s. That 30s body.
Which hard to argue with Troy.
No.
I'm a big fan of what he builds.
Absolutely.
I love his respect tradition.
Absolutely.
I like that.
But see, then there's others, other body styles, and you get it. Absolutely, you can have a hot rod out of a muscle car. Is there a specific body style? I would guess with you, it's probably the 50s cars.
I say no.
Okay.
Like, I am the MC for the Tri-5 Nationals up there in Bowling Green. They get almost 3,000 Tri-5s, and I build the best hot rod pick. I take a quick change rear end cover and I make it. And some of the street rod hot rod guys on Facebook that I'm friends with, they're like, you can't pick a hot rod at a Tri-5 show. It ain't such a thing. Well, I pick something with 5 spokes and big and littles and the right. It doesn't have to be perfect. You know, there was one year it had American Daisy, 5 spokes, big and littles, almost mini tub. You know, the leaf springs were at least moved in, and it's got Impala interior, engine turned dash, a 4-speed. And it was just bitching.
Oh yeah,
you know,
the magic
it's a hot rod.
ingredients.
It's the stance and the look, and it's like, that it's a hot rod. And something's like, oh yeah, I'd drive that, or I want that in my garage too. So usually I pick like 5 and send them to my wife, and the hot rods at the Tri-5s. But a street rod is 48 and older. That's kind of an industry standard. But a hot rod, I've seen tuner cars that I thought, man, that's got a hot rod influence to it. That kid's got like a tuner import car, but his dad's probably got a Deuce or a 55 in the garage. You can just kind of tell that, you know?
Okay, so it sounds like one of the things you're hitting on is attitude.
Attitude, yeah.
But to me, you know, the hot rod attitude is it's got to be a little rambunctious, a little out of control, a little, it's kind of like the guitar player's got his guitar a little too loud and a little too raunchy. You know, when you go hear somebody play, it's like, that guy was playing, you know.
Country music would not be played on the speakers in a hot rod. That's just what I'm going to say.
Absolutely, I agree.
No, I'm a punk rock kid. I got Pennywise tattoos and been to more punk shows than anything. And
okay, what else? What about stick or automatic?
I think it could be anything. One, because my high school car that I only drove during the summer because I lived in Illinois, and then we went to the junkyard and got a first row runner and drove that in the snow. I drove a 4-speed every day in the summer, and actually my winter beater was a Chevy Love stick shift. And now I put automatics in almost everything. I've got a couple customer cars that's got sticks in it, but I've been on enough hills at stoplights and stuff that I know some people say it's got to have 3 pedals in it to be a hot rod.
Yeah.
Good Guys is one of that. They do the hot rod of the year here, and we had a car one time that was a 4-door 32 Ford, once in a bunch of magazines, won a bunch of awards, and they're like, well, you can't do hot rod of the year. It's a 4-door and it's got an automatic in it.
Yeah.
Well, when we take it to Columbus, they're like, well, it's not street rod because it's a 4-door. What the hell is it? It's a 32 Ford. If it's not a hot rod or a street rod, it's something, you know. Tim 20 years ago or 15 years ago would have said, yes, it has to have 3 pedals in it to be a hot rod. Now, I don't care. But then again, I guess I do care, because on the Chevelle, I got a big Hurst shifter and the big Hurst shifter boot, because my dad always did that. And then the Impala seats and the clear plastic floor mats and all. There's a whole bunch of stories of the way we did things on that Chevelle.
And see, that was one of the things I had discussed with Steve, with Mank, about is when you want to drive something, if you're looking at something you want to drive all the time, or air conditioning or that kind of thing, that's a little different argument. It's all good stuff. Does that take you out of the hot rod realm?
I don't think it can still be a hot rod, be an automatic.
I think so too.
But then again, it does make it more of a hot rod
it can't
if it's
be a
got
column
a pedal.
shift.
Because I've got the big Hurst shifter, because people glance in and if they think it's a 4-speed. I almost dummied up and underneath the dash, welded down, and had a fake clutch pedal, then they'd both go at the same time. So
that's funny.
I guess it does add bonus points in the hot rod world if it's got 3 pedals. So
I don't have a problem with it being an automatic as long as it's not column shift.
yeah. What did Mank say? His hot rod? A nice Metropolitan.
Yeah,
He's a
it
big
was some
nice
sort of
Metropolitan.
crazy thing. Yeah. He was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah. You don't need to fill out all 5, I don't think. I didn't say it had to be shiny.
So it's more attitude for you.
Yeah, because stance is attitude. I mean, I'm going to Texas this weekend. I announce autocross for Good Guys. I announced some drag racing and MC a bunch of events, and I was one of MC at the Triple Crown. And the quality, the skill level, the fit and finish
Isn't that awesome?
is through the roof. The last 8 years, the quality has just been, that's why Boyd got so famous.
Yeah.
He was like the first one that I remember as a young kid, was the fit, the finish, the gaps, the cut and rubbed everywhere, finishing a car out to a standard. Well, now everybody, 90% of the car is built like that.
And one of the things that's changed a lot is that now you have aftermarket companies that are, like Roadster Shop, Fat Man's and stuff, that are building those components for you that allows you to build the car quicker.
It's crazy, because I have friends in the industry, and any quality shop right now has a multiple year wait to get in. That's how strong the industry is, which is weird, not weird, but with the quality of aftermarket parts of buying that Fat Man chassis or a Morrison or a Roadster Shop, it makes it easier for the home builder.
Oh, absolutely.
To build a car, if they can afford a $30,000 chassis or on up. Like I got one in the shop with an independent rear end the rear end alone was $20,000.
Oh my gosh.
You know, all polished and everything like that. You can buy a whole body. You can buy a steel 32. You can buy a 55. You can buy a Camaro. You can buy a 55 to 59 Chevy truck cab. I mean, it's crazy what you can buy and put together.
The industry has definitely changed and made it easier for people, and that's good to see. The problem that I see, though, is that a lot of people, especially that are watching the shows or in their garages at the house, don't realize what it takes to build one.
Yeah.
And the time and the hours and the skills you got to have. You know, there's guys that I see them and they're welding and stuff like that, and it's like, take some classes and learn to weld.
Yeah.
So your welds are strong.
Yeah.
Because you're going to kill yourself.
For instance, there is 7 cars in my shop. 6 customer cars, I guess.
Yeah.
Every one of them was either started at somebody by home and gave up and sold, or at another shop and the customer had the buffet syndrome and then bought 50 cents on the dollar. There ain't one car in my shop that, hey.
That you started.
Yeah, that is currently. I had one that was, we got a chassis, old body, it was a street rod, but every other one that's currently sitting in my shop was started either at home or now we're on the second owner before it even got finished. Because they just, like I shared a memory, one of the guys that was on the show from the Search and Restore, we built we chopped the top and did all the stainless on a Hudson Custom.
Yeah.
And somebody posted on there and it's like, well, weren't those built really quick? It's like, yeah, 4 weeks. But they let me talk about the hour. This car we built in 4 weeks still had over 2,200 man hours in it because we had so many people each week and fresh and 18-hour days. And I'm too old for that stuff now. I've turned down quite a few shows since then. But
well, and that's another problem. They don't realize what it takes to do that.
the hours. That's one good. Luckily, my producer Tom let me talk about that. Was the hours.
Yeah.
He always tried to get me the drama on the deadline. I know the deadline's you guys.
Yeah.
Because you can't take a year to build a car. I mean, Kindig does that.
Yeah.
And you look at those shows and it's like, oh, we've already seen that car in the background. It's done just because of the way they edit the shows.
Sure.
And but the reason we built them in 4 weeks was because TV deadline. We had to have so many episodes a year. We did one that had over 3,000 man hours in it, a 55 Chevy wagon. But that's what it takes to build a car. We just condensed them. And the 1 month we painted, I think that was the Hudson. They complained to me. They came out. It said, our gas bill jumped up $8,000 this month. And I go, you're the one making me build the cars that fast, so that's why I'm running that bake booth so much. So we couldn't pull them out in the sun because we still had to keep working on them. So.
No, that's something that we stress all the time on the show is the time and the skills and the tools it takes to do it and having the room, all that kind of stuff.
Especially when you start doing custom metal shaping and metal finishing and not just MIG and mud if you're going to TIG it and file it and, metal finish it. It's just the amount of labor. And
you step back and look at it and go, yeah, I thought that was going to work. Nah, I'm going to cut that off and try it again.
Yeah. The longer you do it, the less you do that stuff. But there's still stuff. There is a trash bin still in my shop.
Oh, yeah, always, especially when you're doing something, different.
Can't get enough gears? Make sure to check out the Tales of a Gearhead podcast, where Stacey brings a lifetime of automotive knowledge, friendships, and expertise to the listener. Also, check out our social media channels for updates and videos of Gears projects, as well as special contests, giveaways, and events. If you have a vehicle you want to enter into What Are You Working On, go to StaceyDavid.com and submit it. There's also the online store and tons of other Gearhead information that will encourage you to get out there, build something, and go drive it.
I'm sitting here with my buddy Tim Strange. We are going to address a question and an issue that comes up a lot. This is shop safety. Now, you're probably sitting there going, I don't need to know anything about that. I work in my shop. I'm safe. And I tell you what, both Tim and I, and I'm sure anybody that you know that is a professional mechanic, has had some brushes with death in their shop. So we're going to talk about that and kind of what it takes. Tim, let's talk about some injuries that we've had. Because you're working in the shop by yourself.
Mostly by myself. Yeah. And in Illinois, my shop was right out the back door, which my wife had a job off property at that time. But my mom and dad were right down the road. But I knocked myself out one day in the shop in Illinois, probably 18 years ago. I was working on this car from hell, a 34 Buick Restoration 4-door, straight 8. And I stood up in the car and hit myself so hard in the door with the door open, and I woke up on the ground.
Wow, bleeding?
No, just kind of knocked myself out. But through BMX, I've had a lot of head injuries and concussions and stuff. So I probably got a button that can push me out. And so that was a bad one there.
And you opened yourself up. You almost bled out in the shop.
Yeah, I bleed every day in the shop for some reason. But yeah, right there on my arm, that's probably what you've seen. I did that maybe 4 years ago. My wife was in Vegas running LS Fest. And I was out of my normal brand of cutoff wheels, and I use what I call the wheel of death. I don't use the little cutoff wheels. I use the bigger ones on a body grinder. It's just something I've used all the time. I don't put them on electric because then it'll bog down with air instead of electric, what I call the OCC cutter. I don't use them that way. Yeah. But I had some cheaper ones from a farm store, and I just was cutting a little rivet off I was building the Royal Purple panel truck. And I sat it down. I was just using it, and I sat it down. I must have sat it down just a little too hard, because as soon as I grabbed it again, you just plug it in and it went, and stuff flew. And I was scared to look, and it sounded like somebody was pouring a bottle of water on the ground. I was bleeding so bad. Well, luckily, where my shop is now, I'm about 2 miles from an ER in a small town where my shop is. For some reason, when I hurt myself really bad, I apologize to my wife. I don't know, like when I'm hurt really bad, she knows if I call her and apologize. Again, she's in Vegas. I call her.
So you called her before you went to the hospital?
I'm on the way to the hospital driving myself. I made a tourniquet. I made a tourniquet, wrapped it up in a towel. I've been around enough of this because my dad had a serious farm injury where he ripped off half of his knuckle and a whole thumb. And almost ripped his arm off. They pulled tendons all the way from his shoulder. That sounds like 6 shoulder surgeries. It was a PTO shaft. So I've known around growing up on farms, I've seen enough stuff happen that, okay, I'm gonna make a tourniquet and I'm gonna twist. I was never a military guy, but farm accidents I've been around.
So you've got a tourniquet on one arm, you're holding it you're driving and you're on the phone. How many arms do you have?
Well, I end up getting woozy. In middle of conversation, I dropped the phone. And I didn't have enough energy to find the phone. I get to the ER. I did find my phone when I got out, and I took it in with me. And it's all filleted. I mean, there's still blood in my shop that I have. It looked like somebody took a bullet in there. And cleaned the floors, but there's stuff on the walls that won't come off just from me getting out of the building. I just put a new door lock in. I was like, I can't call 911. If I pass out, I got to at least get out of the building because I don't want to break my door down because there's nobody here. The town we moved to, we hardly know anybody. So it's not like, hey, call up Bubba and go fix my door for me. Everybody lives a half hour, 40 minutes away. So I wanted to at least get outside. I thought about calling 911 there, and it's like, well, I can get in the truck and I can start the truck. I know it's just, I don't have to drive on the highway. It's these little back roads, which is probably worse through town, residential area with children. And I get there and they're like, oh my goodness. And it's all filleted open. And my wife calls a friend that was at the BMX track, and she came down an hour to help me, and I was all sewed up by the time she got there, but she helped me get in the house and all that. But that was a bad one. It's just like this little freak accidents
It just happens. So what would your advice be to somebody in a shop? Just to be prepared? Because I tell people to have phone numbers there, first aid kits.
Yeah, it's like I hate working with my phone in my pocket. I like to leave it over so I can work and people leave me alone because I'm clocked in. And but then again, when I'm doing something, it's like, oh, I need my phone in my pocket just in case something happens. I've had stuff unloading, doing stupid stuff with a cherry picker, twice as heavy, unloading sheet metal equipment, and it's broke the cherry picker, and luckily I jumped and it flung me, and I hurt my back putting a hood on with my wife that I couldn't walk for almost 3 weeks. Almost thought I had to have emergency surgery just putting a hood on a car that was too heavy, and we should have called for help or waited another night. But the car had to go to SEMA, and I had to get it painted because she was leaving to go to a car show.
And the thing is, that's just the nature of what we do. We take a lot of chances and stuff like that. And I try to tell people just to be prepared for that and to take some basic survival skills, knowing how to stop bleeding, knowing what to do, in an emergency situation.
Even my wife did upholstery in the shop for 15 years full time, and she was putting together a seat, get the aftermarket bucket seat with no foam on it. So if you've ever worked on a seat and you hit the retractor and it comes forward,
and it'll pinch you.
It hit her.
Oh, the top hit her.
Right across the sinuses, and this was probably 18 years ago. Her sinuses are still messed up to this day. And she'll still get bad, wicked, bloody noses, especially if we go to the desert or something for too long and her dry out from that seat breaking. The clip broke, and she was sitting in front, and there was no foam on it, so it's super lightweight, so it moves really fast. And it hit her right across. She comes running across the shop, screaming. I had a guy helping me that night, and just blood everywhere. She was working in the office. It again looked like somebody got shot in our office. We had to put new carpet in it, and yeah. And then we go to the small town hospital in Illinois, and
they think you hit her.
Well, no, they thought she went through a car windshield. That's how bad it was. And then they stick that, like when you go to the dentist and they have that spit sucker thing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They stuck one of those up to pull like blood out of her.
Hello.
Well, then this stupid nurse lady sucked the lining out of her nostrils.
Okay.
So then she had to go on
well, there's your
medicine to
sinus
go-
problems.
Yes,
Shoot.
yeah. So just one thing, but all because of just a random seat hit her in the head.
So from now on, if she ever gives you any trouble, you're like, I'm going to hit you with that seat.
Yeah, yeah. We had 6 pairs of those bucket seats in there, and she refused to work on them from there on out.
Oh, yeah.
So the company didn't stand behind them, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
didn't even get us a new spring or nothing.
I was buffing a headlight ring one Sunday afternoon here by myself, and I've been running a buffer for 1,000 years. That's the thing. It always happens to the guys that have all the experience. And just for a second, I looked another way or whatever, and it caught that ring on the backside, and it took me right across there. And immediately I knew it was bad because it hit so hard. And man, it laid me open all the way through the knuckle.
Some of that stainless, it's like a razor blade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Catherine went in there, the guy filled it up with stitches, but he had to open it up to clean it. So she got a photograph of it, pulled all filleted open.
I sent my wife when I filleted my arm open a picture of it. It was because it was flopped back like this, like the skin.
Man.
You know, and of course the doctor.
Did it go all the way to the bone?
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah.
But it didn't cut any
Like they
tendons
said, if I would have passed out on the way there and let go of the tourniquet in that 2 miles, I probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I probably would have bled out. That's how bad it was.
Did it cut any tendons or anything? You were
no, it hurt
man,
'em.
you were really fortunate just where that. Same with me. I mean,
Yeah, they said if it would have been down here or this way, an inch, like here, like there's tendons right there, and I nicked a couple. So like my thumb, I have a lot of thumb pain and stuff because of it, and then weird pains in there.
Yeah.
I had scar tissue. It looked like a golf ball underneath it there for about a year, and then it kind of reabsorbed back in there. But
So anyway, yeah, it's good just for people to be aware that kind of stuff can happen.
Yeah.
Especially, things rolling off of jacks. Just try to be careful.
yeah, my dad's always worried about me about jacks, and I've seen
under
enough stuff. A friend that jack broke, and he didn't have a jack stand on underneath of it, and he's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Just stuff. So I've always been super careful about jack stands and make sure my lift clicks and stuff like that. Yeah.
Just taking those extra seconds to do that is important. Well, man, thank you for being here. It's been awesome. Look forward to having you back on here. And good luck with everything you do, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. And ever need an extra hand? I got to be careful. It's being recorded, isn't it? And come up and help you on this.
Well, it goes both ways. And if you need some parts, let me know. All right, that's our show for today, which means you need to get out there and start working on something. Spend some time turning wrenches. You'll love it. Also, make sure to check out our website, staceydavid.com. We got all kinds of new products, some great stuff there you're going to love. Also, make sure you check out our social media. That's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all at Official Stacey David. Our social media is where you're going to find all the bonus content, the giveaways, the contests, the trivia. We even have extra viewer projects that we show everybody to focus on what you're working on. YouTube is where you're going to be able to find all of our episodes of Gears, past, present, and future. I know a lot of you guys ask about that. That's where you can see them. All right, that's all we got. We'll see you next time.